Hi, I'm Elisabeth Cooper, and welcome to Prophetic Worship Mini Chats, where we talk for 5 to 10 minutes on any subject pertaining to prophetic, spontaneous ascension worship. And today we are diving into Psalm 13, the How Long Psalm. And we're going to talk about what I think is one of the greatest lessons that we could pull from this psalm in terms of congregational worship, spontaneous worship, the content that we are releasing in our gatherings as we worship, and songwriting specifically for singing in when we gather together, when we assemble together. And so I'm going to read this psalm and then we will jump right into it. How long, O Lord, will you forget me? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I take counsel in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all the day? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Light up my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemies say, I have prevailed over him. Lest my foes rejoice because I am shaken. But I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. Okay, let's jump right in. I think it's important to note that not every portion of every psalm is beneficial or meant for us to actually sing or emulate in congregational worship, or in our spontaneous singing or songwriting specifically for when we gather together to worship. Okay, but every psalm has something valuable, has gold, is valid. It's the word of God. Every single word of God is useful and valid and beautiful. And so what we want to do is we want to look at this psalm and pull out what is the process that David is going through that actually gives us insight into breakthrough and healing through emotional pain, right? Okay, so David is not in a good place here. He is not having a good day. He is not in a good circumstance. Saul has basically vowed to kill him. And so David is running for his life. He's hiding in the mountains, and and he's not, it's not great. So from this place, David writes Psalm 13. And the situation that he's in, these questions that he's asking, this emotional pain that he is feeling, it is understandable. It is valid and real what he's feeling, what he's going through. It's rough. It is a hard time, right? And it's real. It's happening. The king of Israel wants to kill him, has vowed to kill him, and that spirit of jealousy has risen up in him and is after David. And so, not a great situation. So, all right. So I think sometimes we look at these psalms and we take it as a license to write congregational songs, to sing songs that sort of like follow these themes, these sort of like how long themes. We take it as a license to wail about our how longs or our proverbial how longs. And I'm not discounting or discrediting the how longs. They are real. They happen. It is life. There's real emotional pain. I'm not trying to discount that at all, but hang tight with me because I am going to land this plane. And so let's talk this through. I believe that the greatest lesson, the greatest thing that we can glean from this psalm, the greatest key that is just shining through this psalm is this: the seeing and the understanding of the breakthrough that David got when he began to sing the truth about who God is, when he began to sing the Torah, when he began to sing the Word of God, right? And David he has made this a lifestyle to sing the Word of God, to sing the Torah. He said, I meditate on your law, on your word day and night. And that word meditate has connotations in singing. And he says, look, I'm gonna sing, and over we hear David proclaiming, I'm gonna sing. And even in this psalm, I'm gonna sing about your steadfast love. I'm gonna sing about your salvation. I'm gonna sing to you, to the Lord, because you've dealt bountifully with me. He's starting to declare who God is. He's prophesying over his situation. He's saying, I rejoice in the salvation of the Lord, right? Okay. Before I get off on too much of a preach here, let's get back to my notes so that we can keep this on track, all right? So I think that the greatest thing we could glean is seeing and understanding the breakthrough in David's life when he began to sing the truth about God. This psalm shows us a clear process of emotional distress, of believing all of the lies, that he's alone, that God has left him forever, all this stuff that feels so real to him, okay? It's happening, and letting our experience scream louder than the truth in our lives. And it's showing the working through, the process of working through that to the place of singing the truth about God and allowing that truth to break down and break through every clouded thought, every lie, the noise of the situation, the noise of our experience that actually comes in to be louder in our lives, in our hearts, in our minds, than the truth about who God is, what he is doing, and what he's going to do, right? So this psalm is showing us a clear process of this. David shows us in this psalm that it's okay to feel it. It's okay to ask the honest questions, to be honest with God. But he also shows us the process through to healing and breakthrough that will shift our focus and our hearts. We walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We don't camp there. We don't sit. We don't camp there and just start singing about the valley of the shadow of death. No, through the valley of the shadow of death, okay? Again, it's important to note that not every portion of every psalm is meant for congregational singing. We see that in this psalm. But in every season, like David, we should turn our hearts and sing to him. We should be honest with him. But when it comes to congregational songs that bring healing and breakthrough, those have very specific attributes. And so let's talk about this. Let's not forget that the point of worship is worship, to exalt him. It's vertical. And there's a definite place in prophetic worship where he sings over us as well. And we're gonna touch on that here in a second. And maybe we'll go deeper into that in another video, the place of that specific type of prophetic worship. But the breakthrough comes, the clarity comes when we declare the truth about who God is and we worship him in the beauty of holiness. this is one of the greatest lessons that we can learn, and one of the greatest lenses to view some of these Psalms where David he's working through emotional crisis and trauma, because there's a few of them. David had some rough goes of it, all right? But the grace of God has given us these Psalms so that we would see keys to break through. We're human. We have difficult days and difficult circumstances, and our hearts get broken and we grieve, and it's real, and we see this in David's life. But we get hung up on those emotions instead of seeing this shining hope, this promise of the process, that the keys to healing and breakthrough, and actually seeing shift in our lives, and just beyond what is screaming at us in the loudest noise and voice of our experience. And also I want you to keep in mind that I am specifically talking about congregational worship here. I believe there are places for that songwriters can write through emotional pain that can really be used to heal. But I'm talking about creating an atmosphere where breakthrough and healing comes corporately, where you are actually opening up the atmosphere for God to move in and do the miraculous, okay? And do what he does best, be himself, right? So worship like that, like I'm talking about, like we want to create atmospheres where God can come in and be himself and do what he wants to do. That is primarily God-centric worship, right? There's a couple of questions that I ask, and I think it's a little bit of a litmus test that we can use as a tool to kind of look at our songs, our song choices, what we're singing spontaneously, what we're writing as songwriters, and these questions are that. We're talking about God-centric worship. Who is he? What has he done? What is he doing, and what is he going to do? Your worship should fit into those questions. We need to check our songs and our spontaneous worship content against these questions. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? Does it fit into who he is? Does it fit into what he's done? Does it fit into what he's doing? And does it fit into what he's going to do? No, it does not. It's real, and it's a true picture of David working through the place of breakthrough to declare, to get to the place to declare who God is and what he's doing and what he's going to do. He aligns his heart with the truth. After all these how longs, he says, light up my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemies say that they have prevailed over me. Lest my foes rejoice because I am shaken. There's a place of being honest with the Lord in our struggle, in our pain. But the most powerful thing that we can do in that place is turn our eyes, gaze, lock your gaze with him once again, turn your heart to him, and actually proclaim who he is and what he's doing and what he's going to do in your life. He says, I rejoice in your salvation. I rejoice in what you're going to do, in what you have done, in your steadfast love over me, in the fact that you have dealt bountifully with me. You are a generous God, and I am hiding away in these mountains in despair, but now I have prayed to the Lord, light up my eyes, because I don't want my enemies to come in here and see me wallowing in my how longs. I don't want my enemies to rejoice over me because I am shaken, from my place in the truth of God, right? And so when we come into congregational worship, when we come into gather together, I don't care if it's 2 of us, 3 of us, 500 of us, in our places where we are trying to create a place for healing, for breakthrough, for God to inhabit the praises of his people, to bring in his justice, to make all the wrong things right, to make all the dark things light, to bring deliverance. We primarily need to be God-centric. Who is he? What does he look like? What is he doing? What's he going to do? And within that, you will find that there's actually a place with what is he doing? Is he singing over his people? That's where that piece of prophetic worship comes in. What is he doing in the room? What is he doing right now? He's singing. If he's singing over his people, then let him sing over his people. That is a part that fits into those questions. There are multiple dynamics that fit within those questions. Who is he? What is he doing? What is he going to do? What has he done? Singing the testimonies of what the Lord has done. All right, I got off on a bit of a thing there, so let's wrap this up. Again, I think this is the greatest, most valuable lesson that we can glean from Psalm 13. The clear picture of the principle of turning our hearts towards him and declaring his goodness, declaring who he is, declaring what he has done, declaring what he's doing and what he is going to do. The truth about who he is will bring breakthrough in our lives and situations, and it's going to create an atmosphere of breakthrough and healing in the places that we worship together. So that's all I wanted to say on that. I've already gone over my time, so I hope you have hung with me here, but let's sing about who God is. Let's have God-centric worship. Let's not forget that the point of worship is worship, and we are here to create a place where God he sits down in the middle of our praise, and he does what he does best. He is himself, and so, all right. Well, I thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time on Prophetic Worship Mini Chats.